There we go. Our Facebook fan page is Extra Digit Movement on Facebook, and you can share this with your followers. Make sure you hit share. So what's my point? You don't want to be midway through your journey to make millions and then one of the 5 Ds hits you. You could be one small fender bender away from a disability. Why do I say fender bender? Because that's what happened to me. Christmas. Boom. Car accident. I got out. The guy got out. We exchanged numbers. We talked. But what I didn't know was that it caused a brain hemorrhage. So next thing you know, I got nurses asking me, do I have a will in place? That's what 2 of them asked me. That's actually one of the first things they ask you when you get rushed to the trauma unit. You got a will? Do you have insurance? And do you have a will in place? That's what they asked me. 2 different nurses from a fender bender on Christmas Eve, 2023. So what I'm telling you guys is you ain't in control of everything. And you actually have less control over things than you think you have. So why not make yourself bulletproof so if nothing else, your loved ones won't suffer if a disability happens? Imagine me having a brain hemorrhage and I would have had, let's say, a stroke or start having seizures. That's a disability. But because my assets are protected, I have money coming in so that my lifestyle won't change. That's what protecting yourself does. I have disability insurance. So in the event, as a speaker, as a person that's on stage, on Zooms, on webinars, on lives, on live streams, on panels, on discussions, what if something happens to my voice? I have disability insurance. So something pays for my current lifestyle if my voice ever disappears. Disability insurance. So I'm not here to sell you insurance. I can't even sell you insurance because I don't have a license. What I'm selling you on is the idea that we got to have some forward thinking, and you have to stop waiting on something to happen to you before you get yourself together. Because I'm telling you, if something happens to you before you get yourself together, it's too late. You're already too late. So when they asked me during my before I went into surgery on Christmas, yeah, insurance, Mr. Bean? I was like, yes. Thank God I was able to speak. Thank God I was able to comprehend. Thank God I didn't have a stroke. Thank God I didn't have a seizure. Thank God I didn't die. I was understanding and answering all the questions. Who's the president? Biden. What's your name? Brian. What day is it? Christmas. What was yesterday? Christmas Eve. Where are you? I'm at the hospital. They're like, all right, you good to go. You're a walking miracle. You got insurance? I'm like, yes, I got insurance. Who's it with? I told him who it was with. You got a will? I said, this is really more serious than I thought. They're like, yeah, you're going under in a minute. Do you have a will? You know, my answer was, no, but I have a trust fund. In fact, I have 4. Nurse was like, oh, well, excuse me. I'm like, man, I'm just telling you, I have a trust fund. What they were saying was basically, if you don't come out of this brain surgery, are your affairs in order? And my answer was yes. Why is this important? So I want to talk to you guys about this trust fund. And the person that introduced you to this video can get with you and just kind of show you how it works and show you how our membership gives you all these discounts on all these different things when it relates to money. You're talking about your taxes, you're talking about your debt, you're talking about your credit, you're talking about bills going down, credit scores going up 126 points. We're talking about investments, becoming your own bank, buying land, wholesale. Our membership has everything in it. And the person that shared this video with you, they can break it all down for you. But tonight, I'm just telling you how a trust fund can save your life. Do you guys know, and I'll just use this because it's a recent time, O.J. Simpson The Goldman family is still looking for their money. The Goldman family in a civil case, I think, don't quote me, won over $30 million in a civil case for Nicole and Ron's wrongful death. Why didn't they get a dime? You know why? Because OJ's money was locked up in his pension, which you can't touch. OJ's money was locked up in insurance policies because he became his own bank. You can't touch. And OJ's money is locked up in trust funds. That means the money is not his, it belongs to the trust. So he was bulletproof as an entity from any civil suits. And I'm just using that because it's a recent example. Write this down: own nothing, control everything. If something is in your name, it can be taken from you. So why do you have, see, this is where the learn, unlearn, and relearn comes into play. When you don't have anything and someone says, I own my car, it's a badge of honor. And it should be, because you didn't own anything and now you own your car. I have the title. I'm a proud home owner. All my debt is paid off. So you like, I own my house. Well, for a person that came from nothing, like a lot of us on the Zoom, or let's just say not much, we wore that as a badge of honor. But when you elevate and you start hanging around deca millionaires, they don't own their cars. They don't own their homes. They don't even own their bank accounts. The trust does. So now you like, I'm proud now for a different reason. I don't own anything. That's a different pride I have, right? I don't own my cars. I don't own my home. I don't own my land. Brian Bain don't own nothing. So you can't get a penny out of Brian Bain on some frivolous lawsuit because the trust protects me. So no, I'm not a doctor, PhD. No, I'm not a medical doctor, MD. No, I'm not an attorney, Esquire. No, I'm not a nurse, RN. No, I'm not a dentist, but I am a TTEE, a trustee. Those are the initials I wanted at the end of my name, because Brian Bain is the trustee over 4 trusts that have all the trust assets in it. You have to separate yourself from your stuff. Everybody come off mute and say, let's separate.
Okay. Let's separate.
Let's separate.
See, it's another level. I used to be like, I own my cars, I own my house, I own. Now I'm like, I don't own anything, nothing's in my name. You got to go from ownership to control. I don't want to own nothing, but I want to control it. I didn't make that up. Just a $1 billion family, the Rockefellers, made it up. John D. Nelson, Rockefeller family. To this day, we don't know how much they're worth because every time one of them dies, a couple of $1 billion in insurance rolls over into the family trust. I didn't make that up. I just study successful people who study billions and taught me some basic things, and my gift is to bring it to you in a basic format. So what have we learned so far? 1, we don't want to own anything, but we want to control everything. It's not a Brian Bain quote. It's a Rockefeller quote. 2, if you own something, it can be taken away from you. 3, the 5 Ds: disability, divorce, death, disaster, right? And disease, disability, death, disaster, and divorce can rock you to your core. And a lot of those things you can't control. What did we learn? IDE means death. Homicide, suicide, pesticide, fluoride, herbicide means death. You can decide that you want to unlearn what you learned about money and relearn some of the things I'm talking about this week. So what exactly is a trust fund? A trust fund is simply an agreement that creates a contract between three individuals. Now, let me ask you guys a question. In America, is a handshake more valuable than your word? And is your word more valuable than a sheet of paper on contract? Okay. I mean, a contract on paper. Is your handshake more powerful than your words? And is your words more powerful than paper? I want you to put in the comments, what's more powerful, your handshake, your words, or paper in America? I just want to make sure I'm talking to the right audience. What's more powerful? If you had to go to court, are you talking about what you said, what handshake said, or did they want to see the paper? Okay, you want to go to court, is in this country is paper. So a trust fund is really simple. It's an agreement that three entities or three people made to form an entity. The grantor or the creator, the trustee, and the beneficiary. So three people came together to form a trust. Why is that important? Well, because wealthy people, many years ago in 1776, when this country gained its independence, and even before then, decided that they don't want to operate as a person, they want to operate as an entity. Once you get in a world where entities do business, the game changes for your family because your family now controls an entity that was created to take us all away from any liability. Become bulletproof. So if three people form a contract, the trustee has the control. The beneficiary and the grantor simply made it a contract between three people. So if a trust is the governing instrument, write that down. The trust is the governing instrument, and there's a contract between three entities, and only one of us, the trustee, actually controls it. Then how can one individual be sued? Or how can one individual be garnished? Or how can this individual be overtaxed? This entity is taxed differently. Now I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm not gonna get too deep. I'm not a trust expert. My job is to teach you that this stuff is not as hard to understand as you think. I'm simply an educator. I'm simply introducing you to a concept so that you can look further into it and get it at a huge discount from the person who introduced you to this Zoom. Huge discount. And not only that, we walk you up to that level. Again, you don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to be a billionaire. You get a trust to become a millionaire. You don't have to be a millionaire to get a trust. I'm not here to sell you a trust. I'm here to educate you for free during Financial Literacy Month on some things that you need to start thinking about so you can learn, unlearn, and relearn. So two things matter in your trust: the structure and the jurisdiction. Two things matter in your trust: the structure and the jurisdiction. There are three jurisdictions: state, federal, and common law. State, federal, and common. The state is statutory. That's what most attorneys understand. I had a guy tell me the other day, well, Brian, I have my, a state attorney. I said, hey, that's good stuff, man. Congratulations. I never shoot anybody down. I never argue with people. You're doing better than most people. But the word attorney lets me know that you're operating on the lowest level, which is the state. Why? Well, think about it. Can an attorney in Georgia practice in LA, California? No. Can an attorney in New York practice in all 50 states? No. He's a New York attorney. He has to get certain permissions and certain hours or certain, credentials to be able to move to another state and practice. That's why attorneys hook up with other attorneys. I might get a case in Georgia, but I call my friend in Chicago or Illinois, and he can handle it because I got a case in Illinois. That's why we form a firm with different attorneys who can handle it, because we're at the lowest jurisdiction if you're an attorney. It's not disrespectful. I'm just saying your license don't go everywhere with you. Then you got federal, that's level 2. Federal is what? All 50 states. See how that works? So you got state, then you got federal jurisdiction. That's all 50 states. That's the highest jurisdiction than the state level. Everybody knows that when it comes to crime, right? Right? Still a candy bar, state. Get your hand slapped by the state. You steal some money from the bank, federal. Handcuffed by the government. It's two totally different things. You see, state, slap on the wrist, federal is the big boys. The feds have unlimited resources and their conviction rate is like 98%. The feds don't play. But then you have another jurisdiction called common law. What's common law? Well, common law means before the IRS and the Federal Reserve were created around 1913, 1912, the IRS was created to collect money for the Federal Reserve. The IRS is simply a debt collector. Well, if the country was formed in 1776, what were the citizens doing before 1913? So if the Fed was created in 1913 and the IRS became the debt collector for the Fed, what was happening for these 200 plus years? Common law. This jurisdiction is higher than federal, but it'll never be taught because now we're under federal jurisdiction. Listen to me. It was never erased. It just will never be taught. This is going to be a tough pill for people to swallow, and it's okay. None of us like pills. That's why it's okay. But when you understand that 1776 to 1913, if the country was formed in 1776, what were y'all doing before the Federal Reserve? What were y'all doing before the IRS? Operating under common law. Okay, so somebody has to teach you common law from somebody who taught somebody who taught somebody who taught somebody in generation 5. Our experts are from that lineage. Yeah, so the person that introduced you to this Zoom just did you a huge favor because you're in the lineage now with somebody that's connected to common law protection. Yeah. That's your jurisdiction, the highest one. Now, I'm wrapping up with this. Your structure. Only 2 things matter. Structure and jurisdiction. Only 2 things matter. What's your structure? Well, it's Financial Literacy Month, so I'm gonna break it down in simple terms. A complex trust has a business trust, a family trust, and a foundation. That's called a complex trust. Some people refer to it as a web. Business trust, family trust, and a foundation. Well, Brian, how do you have 4? Well, I got a complex trust plus an asset trust. My asset trust does business with the public because I didn't want it in my complex trust. The complex trust is for my family. The asset trust does business with the public. Some of my real estate deals do business with the public. So it's not mixed in with these 3. That gives me a total of 4. Let me just talk about these real quick. The business trust collects the money, collects and disperses. The family trust spends the money. So I spend my money out of the family trust. And then the foundation is where my legacy is built. So at the end of every year, I write a check to the foundation, also known as an endowment that I can build for my unborn great grandchildren that was passed from the business trust to the family trust to the family foundation, which is in a trust. Now, you telling me you don't need to understand that these entities at least exist? You telling me you don't need to get with the person that introduced you to this so they can kind of show you the beginning of how to get your finances in order and the end and how to protect the money that you make? You telling me you're going to learn some of this stuff in schools or listen to your attorney who passed the bar on a statutory level? No disrespect, but that's what they were taught. There's levels to everything, and you just got introduced to the highest level. Now, all you got to do is get with the person that introduced you so we can show you how our mentors do all of this on your behalf. I hope you guys enjoyed Create, Increase, Multiply, and Protect. Tonight, we talked about protect. If you haven't seen all of them, extradigitmovement.com. Click replays. You can go back and watch CIMP. And I hope that this brought some simplicity with a C to your understanding about money. I'll see you guys at the next campaign. And I'll talk to you guys, and I'll see you in the magazines. Have a good night.